Hey, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at a Marvel Omnibus, which I think is the biggest one yet. It might be beat a little bit by War of the Realms, or this might have a little bit more. I haven't actually compared the pages, but I do think this one's the biggest, and that is, of course, Avengers vs. X-Men, also an X-Men Omnibus, which you know I love the X-Men. So without further ado, let's take a look at this book. Here is the cover of the book, which features a bunch of the characters in here, but in the foreground we get one of the first fights, which is Iron Man versus Magneto. Alright, spine lovers, look how thick this book is, first of all. It's insane. Second of all, what do we think of this spine? We get another Iron Man versus Magneto little thing here. I think it looks pretty cool. And here is the back of the book. Earth's mightiest event. We've got the Avengers up top versus the mutants down below. Alright guys, there are so many comics collected in this book that I have to ask for your patience as I go through what is actually in here. So let's get through this as quick as we can. There's Avengers vs. X-Men 0 through 12. There's AVX versus 1 through 6. There's Avengers vs. X-Men Infinite number 1 and 6 and 10. There's Avengers Academy number 29 through 33. There's Secret Avengers number 26 through 28. There's Avengers 25 through 30. There's New Avengers 24 through 30. There's X-Men Legacy number 266 through 270. There's Wolverine and the X-Men issue 9 through 16, and issue 18 is also included. There's AVX Consequences 1 through 5. There's Uncanny X-Men number 11 through 20. There's A-Babies vs. X-Babies number 1, and there's also material from Point 1 number 1. Hey, there we go. We did it. You made it. That wasn't so bad. And now we can talk about what this book is and if I think it's worth picking up. Alright, so first let's start with what is Avengers vs. X-Men. Well, it's a 12-issue series where the X-Men are pitted against the Avengers because they're both trying to do what they believe is the right thing, but they can't agree what the right thing is, so a superhero smashdown occurs. And this is all predicated on the Phoenix returning to Earth, and if you're a big X-Men fan, or even a minor one, you'll likely be familiar with the cosmic entity that is the Phoenix, which is a kind of parasite, all-consuming being of immense power that can create and destroy with great ease and has caused a lot of trouble for planet Earth before. So everyone becomes privy to the fact that it's coming back to Earth, and the assumption is that it's going to the mutant Messiah, Hope Summers, who's the Messiah because she was the first mutant born after M-Day, by the way, which is the event where Scarlet Witch's powers basically took out most of the mutants. That happens in House of M, which is also an omnibus that we're getting collected later this year, or actually I think that might be happening in 2023. Anyway, the Avengers want to get to Hope Summers, but she's on Utopia, basically a mutant nation, and it kind of looks like they're just gonna forcefully kidnap her, which I guess is kind of their initial plan, and chaos ensues because of that, because the X-Men are like, hey, let us handle this ourselves. It's not like you guys ever really participate when we're trying to save ourselves from extinction anyway. Like, where have you been through all of these great fights we've had? And then basically everything goes wrong. The Phoenix Force does not do what it was expected to do, but I won't spoil what it does do for those who haven't read it yet. And then just more battling ensues. Just superheroes punching each other in the face. So, is it worth picking up? I think that's the big question, and let me be honest with you guys. Before I read this story, I had heard a lot of things about it. I heard it was not good, not interesting, boring, all of that stuff, but I have to say, I don't really agree with those opinions. I actually kind of like this story. I thought it was pretty entertaining. It's maybe not the best X-Men story, and I usually don't like events that much anyways, but as far as events go, this is not bad at all. There were parts that I found really enjoyable. I mean, maybe I'm crazy and I was extrapolating more from the story than I should have, because I hear a lot of people call this story shallow, but I just don't think that's the case. It almost acts as an exploration of mutant trauma and the mistakes that we can make in the face of consistent injustice. I think it makes a lot of sense that that kind of thing could wear down the soul a little bit and unfortunately manifest the idea of absolutes and losing like the minute nuances of things. Is that explored super in depth in here? No, maybe not, but I can kind of make my own conclusions about things in here. Like, yes, there are pitfalls to the story, it's imperfect in ways, but overall, the message that was sort of discussed in it is interesting and I think worth reading about. And then the flip side, the other side of the coin here is that this is just pure spectacle fun as well. I mean, a lot of this is just, hey, we wanted to like have these superheroes fight each other, and that's such a fun thing that comics do, so I understand the want to create an entire event around that. And the fights are really exciting. I mean, we get a lot of like cool double page spreads, splash pages of just awesome like energy battles going on, punching each other, telepaths, everything in here is so cool. And we get to see like Magneto pitted against Iron Man. You think that fight would go one way because Iron Man's made of metal and Magneto is the master of magnetism, but they make it a little more complicated than that, so you don't really know who has the upper ground until the fight is over. And I mean, even one of the series that is collected in here, it's AVX Versus, it happens after the event, and basically it's just a look at some of the fights of the event that were kind of, glanced over in actually the main book, and it just sort of gives them a spotlight. So you get to see like Namor versus the Thing, Spider-Man versus the Juggernaut, Black Widow versus Magic, and just a bunch more. Now, some of those fights are more serious than others, and some are more goofy and silly, but that is by intent, and I actually really enjoyed the humorous ones in here too, especially the one at the end of issue 6. It gave me a good chuckle. Also, something that normally happens to me with event omnibuses is that I'll be fine with the main event, and then all of the tie-ins I will just think are really, really like not for me, kind of don't feel as exciting or energizing because I already read the main event, and so going backwards doesn't do much for me, and just seeing like what other people were doing. But in this story, that actually made the experience a lot cooler for me and helped flesh things out and make it more of a full world for me, which I don't know why the other ones haven't done that for me, but I don't know, this one just really did it. Like the Secret Avengers story in here is essentially about, the Avengers sending a suicide mission team basically into space to try and intercept the Phoenix before it gets to Earth. And of course, this is not really a spoiler because like the Phoenix comes to Earth in the story that is part of the plot. They fail, so we get to see how that happens. There is, Avengers Academy stories in here. There is the Jean Grey School stories in here. I forget actually what the issues are there, but we get to see like the teachers of the school making their decisions whether to get involved with this Avengers vs. X-Men conflict or to stay back. And of course, they kind of get sucked into it and get forced to be involved with it. And Rogue has a really awesome issue in here, or 2 issues. Rogue is like becoming one of my favorite characters now. I was super indifferent to her, but after reading like Extreme X-Men and then reading this, like I'm starting to get why there's Rogue fans out there. She's a really, really cool character and really fun, and like the Southern Belle shtick is kind of fun too. Another cool thing in here that I just didn't know about before was that we kind of learn about this connection between the Phoenix Force and Iron Fist, which I thought was interesting, but it's also kind of funny that as they continue to flesh out the Phoenix Force lore, it kind of starts getting connected to so many characters and characters that are outside of the X-Men, which is always a little bit weird, but whatever. Spider-Man is also written really well in here, I thought, especially these issues that sort of focus on him mentoring Hope Summers. I thought that there was a couple pages in there that are just really, really poignant, and they have a really fun, interesting, nuanced conversation, or I guess it's more Spider-Man speaking to her about his experiences and what it means to be a hero, what it means to be an Avenger, etc., etc. With great power, there must also come great responsibility. I did also want to mention that the main story of this book is written by Brian Michael Bendis, who maybe that's why I enjoy this so much. Brian Michael Bendis also gets a lot of flack, but I've really enjoyed mostly everything that I've read from him. I think he has a lot of hits. This isn't like one of his greatest stories of all time, but it's still Brian Michael Bendis, and I think I just really like his writing style. Something about it resonates with me. I haven't finished his X-Men run, and I only got to read some of it for the podcast I do here on the channel called Your Favorite X-Men, which is where we take a look at a character that someone likes, and they give me reading recommendations for the character, and we discuss, so that's why I read some of his run. But what I did read of it, I really liked too. There are also a lot of artists that worked on this book as well, and there's a bunch of different writers in this book too, since there's so many series involved with this. But the main story, I think, mostly features the work of John Romita Jr., which is very noticeable. I'm not the biggest John Romita Jr. fan. It's just I'm kind of indifferent to the art style. I know some people love it. I know some people hate it. I'm kind of just in the middle. It serves a purpose. He's really good with dynamic action, I think. His faces, I understand, sometimes can be something that people don't really expect to be looking at in a comic book, but it doesn't bother me. but it's always cool when so many people came together just to make something fun. And I think you can tell that there's a lot of passion poured into most of these stories. I say you pick it up, guys, but this might be like one of my bad comic book opinions. I don't know, maybe everyone really thinks this story sucks, but I say read it yourself, give it a shot. Don't let people saying it's bad, sort of dissuade you of giving it a chance. So let me know if you guys picked this up. If you've read this, let me know what you think about it. I am super curious about this one, just the general thoughts from people who are watching this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and you all have a great rest of your day.